You sent us this massive stack of notes on, like, one of the most chaotic thrillers ever put to film.
It really is a wild ride, yeah.
It is. And I have to say, looking through your sources, this is definitely not your standard weekend popcorn flick.
Oh, absolutely not.
You asked for a comprehensive start-to-finish breakdown of this movie, and we are completely stripping away any of the outside noise. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to mention any YouTube channels or behind-the-scenes trivia today, just a high-quality movie review. That is exactly our mission.
Sounds good to me.
We are taking a deep dive into a narrative that just perfectly balances intricate heist mechanics, brutal betrayal, and, the really fascinating psychology of a protagonist who operates entirely on an unbending personal code.
It really is like a masterful study in contradictions.
Yeah.
On one hand, you have the highly volatile, wildly unpredictable ecosystem of the criminal underworld.
Right.
And on the other, you have this main character who is trying to force order onto that chaos through sheer willpower.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand anything that happens in this movie, we really have to understand our main guy, Parker.
Yeah, the anchor of the whole thing.
Right. And I don't want to just walk through his rap sheet. Think about the people in your life who are stubbornly, just frustratingly principled. Now imagine that person is a career thief.
Right.
Parker operates in a world of liars and murderers, but he adheres to this algorithmic, surprisingly rigid set of personal rules.
Algorithmic is the perfect word for it, actually.
Yeah.
It's like a binary operating system.
Yeah.
If you do X, Parker does Y. There's no emotional gray area there at all. What's fascinating here is how the movie uses that rigid code as a stress test against the ultimate corrupting force, which is just sheer human greed.
Oh, for sure.
It's a story where every single action creates a really violent, systemic reaction.
And we see that system break down right out of the gate. You look at the opening scene and it's a textbook bank robbery.
Flawless execution.
Exactly. Parker and his crew, which includes this young guy named Joy and another member named Phil, have executed a flawless operation. They've controlled the room, disabled the security, packed the bags, but then a completely random variable is introduced.
A wild card.
Yeah. An innocent bystander outside the bank notices what's happening, and instead of calling the cops, this guy makes the incredibly foolish, impulsive decision to try and, rob the robbers as they walk out the door.
Which perfectly illustrates the vulnerability of complex systems. I mean, if you are engineering a heist, you plan for institutional pushback.
Right, the cops, the alarms.
Exactly. You anticipate police response times, you factor in vault security mechanisms, you map out camera blind spots. What you cannot plan for is human irrationality.
No, you really can't.
A random citizen deciding to play vigilante for a quick payday is just a variable that breaks the entire equation.
And it breaks it violently. The fallout is instantaneous. Joy takes a bullet to the head. Phil is severely injured.
It's chaos.
Total chaos. And Parker, reacting entirely on instinct, grabs the stolen money bags from this bystander and this wild chase ensues. They end up in an equestrian field, of all places.
Of all places, right?
Yeah. Parker forces the guy's car to crash. There's a shootout, and Parker kills him. But this is the exact moment where your notes highlight the paradox of Parker's morality.
Yeah, this is a crucial moment.
He checks the dead man's wallet. He realizes the guy was just a boyfriend. Not a husband, not a father with dependents. And because of that, Parker inexplicably leaves $100,000 with a woman at the scene before fleeing.
It's so strange on the surface.
Right. I mean, put yourself in that situation. You just survived a shootout, your crew is bleeding, and you just leave a fortune behind.
It seems contradictory until you view it through his specific lens. Parker just killed a man. But the victim didn't fit his internal criteria for someone whose family, deserved to be left destitute by the collateral damage.
Ah, I see.
By leaving that massive sum of money, he is attempting to balance a ledger that only exists in his head.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it establishes within the first 15 minutes that Parker is not a mindless sociopath. He is a man who builds his own guardrails.
But those guardrails are a massive liability when you are working with people who don't share them. Which brings us to the safe house.
The ultimate betrayal.
Oh, man, yeah. So the surviving crew regroups. They've got over $1 million in cash on the table. Phil is bleeding out, And a female crew member named Sen, who kind of acts as their makeshift medic, is treating him.
Tensions are high.
Extremely. Everyone is taking a breath. And then, without a single word of warning, Sen pulls a hidden pistol and just slaughters the entire crew.
It's brutal.
Parker barely escapes by falling into a nearby river, and he's completely riddled with bullets. Have you ever tried to coordinate a group project and it falls apart at the finish line?
Oh, we all have.
Imagine that, but with $1 million in firearms. It's like watching a perfectly synchronized orchestra suddenly turn their instruments into weapons. Why do these criminal enterprises always implode the second the cash is in the room?
Because criminal trust is inherently brittle. It's basically the classic prisoner's dilemma, amplified by the sheer volume of cash.
That makes sense.
Sen calculates that the risk of eliminating her partners is lower than the reward of consolidating the entire payout for herself. But from a narrative structure standpoint, this betrayal serves a very specific mechanical purpose.
Oh, how so?
What's fascinating here is how it strips Parker of his crew, his money, and his physical health. It reduces him to a single, localized drive, which is vengeance.
Right, but Parker isn't operating in a vacuum. As you pointed out in your research, the underworld is a highly connected network.
Very connected.
Word travels that Parker might have survived the river. And this introduces us to the overarching antagonist, a powerful local boss named Lucini.
Right, Lucini.
Lucini hears from an underling named Kincaid that Parker is alive, and Lucini just completely panics. Not because he's scared of Parker directly, but because Lucini has a massive, highly lucrative ongoing relationship with a nationwide crime syndicate known simply as the Outfit.
And the Outfit operates like a ruthless, multinational corporation. They do not tolerate loose ends or local chaos.
They're all business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lucini knows that if a rogue asset like Parker is out there shooting up the city to get his money back, it brings police heat, it disrupts supply chains, and it puts Lucini's standing with the Outfit in severe jeopardy. Parker has evolved from a betrayed bank robber into a systemic risk that threatens a billion-dollar machine.
A risk that refuses to die, I might add. Parker wakes up in the apartment of a woman named Grancy. He has no memory of how he got there. He is just physically destroyed.
He's in terrible shape.
Yeah. And yet, ignoring every basic law of human biology and medical advice, he drags himself out of bed and goes straight to a hidden stash in his room. He's pulling out weapons, cash, fake passports.
He fundamentally compartmentalizes the physical trauma. For Parker, the mission objective overrides the physiological pain.
Which leads him straight to Rosie, the grieving widow of his murdered crewmate, Phil. This is a heavy, intense scene.
It really is.
Rosie is in absolute shock, but she holds a vital piece of logistical intel. She reveals that it was Phil who originally brought the traitor, Sen, into the crew.
Right.
Rosie gives Parker his first real lead, a local supplier named Reggie Riley who facilitated that introduction. But Rosie demands a heavy tax for this information. She makes Parker promise to kill Sen for her.
And we have to remember Parker's operating system here. In his world, a verbal promise is as binding as a notarized contract. He agrees without hesitation.
So he starts pulling the threads. He reaches out to a financially grounding theater owner named Garfield to track down Reggie Riley's exact location.
Right, he's gathering intel.
Yeah, and then Parker ambushes Reggie in a car, and this is where I really have to challenge the idea of Parker as a principled protagonist. Reggie refuses to talk, acting tough about his ex-military driver. Parker doesn't argue. He just pulls his gun and shoots a glass bottle right next to Reggie's head.
It's so subtle.
The sheer concussive violence and shock physically induces Reggie to vomit on himself. It completely breaks him, and he gives up Sen's location. But honestly, looking at how ruthlessly he operates here, he's like a Terminator with a grudge. Does Parker even care about the stolen money anymore? Or is this purely a blood vendetta?
I'd argue you really can't separate the two. That is the core tension of his character.
Okay.
To Parker, the money and the principle are exactly the same thing. A contract was broken and his rules were violated. If he walks away from the money, he accepts the violation of his own code.
And he can't do that.
Right, which means his rules mean nothing. The stolen cash is just the physical manifestation of the broken principle.
Well, he certainly proves how efficiently he enforces those principles.
Mm-hmm.
The second he gets Sen's location, Parker realizes Reggie gave him up, and he's being tailed by Sen's hit squad.
They think they have him trapped.
They box his car in, thinking they've got a clean ambush. Instead of panicking, Parker acts instantly. He shoots the closest guy point blank, triggers a chaotic shootout, and systematically neutralizes the entire threat in seconds.
Just ruthless efficiency.
But he purposefully leaves exactly one henchman alive. Not out of mercy, but purely to use the terrified man as a human GPS to guide him straight to Sen's doorstep.
It's the definition of lethal pragmatism.
Yeah.
He doesn't waste a single ounce of energy on anger or monologuing.
No time for speeches.
Right, he simply turns his enemy's assets into tools for his own objective.
Which brings us to the massive pivot point of the entire narrative. Parker kicks down the door on Sen's meeting in a half-constructed building. He's got the gun leveled. He demands his stolen cut. And Sen drops an absolute bombshell.
The money is gone.
She doesn't have it. The $1 million is completely gone.
She is backed into an impossible corner. She knows Parker's code dictates her immediate death.
Yeah, he made that promise.
So to buy her life, she has to offer an asset of such astronomical value that it forces Parker to temporarily rewrite his priorities.
And she does. Sen pitches this unbelievable geopolitical score. She tells him about the Lady of Arindo.
The artifact.
Right, a 15th century Spanish archaeological treasure recently discovered off the coast. A literal sunken treasure worth $1 billion.
Notice how the narrative architecture changes right here. We shift from a localized, gritty revenge thriller into a high-stakes international heist story.
So what does this all mean for Parker? Because Sen isn't just talking about robbing a museum, she exposes this massive, corrupt political conspiracy.
He goes all the way to the top.
Yeah, the country's president is planning to steal the treasure for himself and sell it to wealthy buyers in the United States, utilizing the outfit syndicate to manage the covert logistics.
And Sen claims her motivation is pure. She says she wants to hijack the outfit's operation, steal the billion-dollar artifact back, and use the money to eradicate poverty in her country.
Which, Parker agrees to help her steal it, purely for a massive cut and the chance to cripple the outfit that's been hunting him.
We just escalated from a botched neighborhood bank job to a shadow war with a corrupt head of state.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the movie is playing with grand sociological themes here.
Like what?
Political corruption, the exploitation of national resources, grassroots rebellion. But it brilliantly filters all of those massive themes through Parker's incredibly narrow mechanical lens.
He doesn't care about the politics, does he?
No, Parker couldn't care less about the president's politics or Sen's humanitarian crusade. He cares about the logistical complexity of the heist and balancing his personal ledger.
And the logistics are a nightmare. The first step requires Parker to travel to New York to get the blueprints, which is a major problem because he is explicitly banned from the city by the underworld.
But he goes anyway. He goes anyway, dragging his contact Garfield along to run surveillance on Lassini's guy, Kincaid. Parker and Sen meet a contact named Nick at a pub to retrieve the heist paperwork. And I have to say, your notes on this pub scene highlight perfectly how the movie leans into absolute absurdity.
It's a masterful injection of chaos.
It really is. Parker aggressively interrogates Nick and his associate, Maya. He runs a bluff, claiming a mutual associate named Jimmy is dead.
And Maya panics.
Maya panics, reaches for a hidden gun, and Parker violently shuts it down. They finally extract the intel. The crucial blueprints for this billion-dollar geopolitical heist are hidden upstairs in the pub, being held by someone or something referred to as Mr. Blue.
And right as they get the clue, the environment reacts. Kincaid's heavily armed crew, who have been tracking Parker's unauthorized entry into New York, assault the pub.
It turns into a war zone, automatic fire tearing through the bar. But amidst this absolute hail of bullets, Parker slips upstairs to find Mr. Blue. You're expecting a heavily armed mob boss or a high-tech safe.
Right, something serious.
What does he find? A stuffed blue elephant doll sitting in a closet. Parker rips the teddy bear or elephant, rather open, and pulls out the plastic capsules containing the heist plans. It is incredibly surreal.
Very surreal.
Imagine dodging Uzi fire just to perform emergency surgery on a stuffed elephant. I mean, why include something so ridiculous when the stakes are $1 billion?
Because it grounds the criminal reality. We are conditioned by movies to think high-level crime is sleek and sophisticated.
Like Ocean's 11.
Exactly. But this scene reminds you that criminal enterprises, even billion-dollar ones, are often highly improvised, paranoid, and fundamentally ridiculous. Hinging a multinational operation on a stuffed toy in a pub closet is exactly the kind of paranoid, off-the-books logic a criminal syndicate would utilize.
Well, Parker barely has a second to process the absurdity before Kincaid bursts into the room. They engage in a brutal, desperate, hand-to-hand fight that ends with Parker physically throwing Kincaid through a window.
And with the plan secured, he can finally move forward.
Yeah, Parker has to assemble a specialized crew for the actual heist.
He needs specialists because he's no longer robbing a local bank, you know?
Yeah.
He's trying to intercept a supply chain designed by the outfit.
Exactly. The target is the basement of the UN building. The outfit's grand plan is to quietly move the massive treasure through a forgotten underground ghost station beneath the city.
And Parker's counterplan is just so complex, it borders on insanity.
It really does. He recruits this quirky crew, Eddie, Tracky, Paul, and a notorious bald enforcer named Stan, whose main qualification is that he's willing to commit murder.
Always a good guy to have on a heist.
Right. So the plan. They're going to hijack a late-night garbage train, bypass all the normal transit stations, and accelerate the massive train to exactly 78 kilometers per hour.
Very precise.
At that precise speed, Garfield is supposed to sever the brake lines, causing the train to derail at a specific 90-degree curve, crashing perfectly into a garbage dump controlled by the outfit. Stan is supposed to be waiting at the dump with a getaway garbage truck to load the artifact.
It is an engineering marvel of a plan. It requires absolute to-the-second precision across multiple moving parts, which, if we look back at the opening bank robbery, is a concept this movie loves to destroy.
Oh, Murphy's Law goes into absolute overdrive here. Before the heist even begins, Parker gets randomly kidnapped by street thugs who mistake him for Sen's boyfriend.
Of all the things.
And actually has to bail him out. Then, during the actual hijacking of the train, Garfield, the guy responsible for the most critical mechanical step, completely fumbles.
He panics.
He gets delayed, trips in the dark, and barely manages to sever the brake lines in time. And Stan, their vital getaway driver. He decides to deal with his nerves by getting blackout drunk in the garbage truck.
Unbelievable.
He crashes the truck before the train even arrives and gets promptly arrested by the police.
It perfectly illustrates the fragility of complex systems, like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
You can calculate the speed and the curvature of the tracks, but the human element, fear, incompetence, addiction, is always the weakest link that shatters the algorithm.
Yet, incredibly, the physics hold up. The train hits the curve at speed, derails, and causes catastrophic damage to the city block.
Total destruction.
Parker's battered crew scrambles through the twisted metal, they pry open the heavily guarded transport boxes, and they find stones. Plain rocks.
A total bait and switch.
It was a massive decoy. Here's where it gets really interesting. The movie spends all this screen time building up the ultimate intricate heist and then completely pulls the rug out by having them steal a box of rocks.
Because the outfit is not the random bystander from the beginning. They are a professional billion-dollar syndicate. They anticipated a disruption.
Right.
They utilized a secondary fake explosion at a vault elsewhere in the city to quietly extract the real statue while Parker's crew was busy orchestrating a train wreck. It's a brilliant escalation of stakes.
Oh, absolutely.
Parker isn't fighting local street thugs anymore. He's playing chess against an opponent capable of outthinking him.
And this realization triggers an absolute frantic scramble for the climax. Parker realizes the outfit has the real Lady of Arindo, and they are moving right now to finalize the sale with a billionaire buyer named Paul.
It all comes down to this.
Parker tracks them down to the exchange location, but the situation immediately spirals out of control. It devolves into a massive three-way war. You have Parker's crew, you have the outfit's heavily armed enforcers trying to protect the asset, and suddenly the corrupt president's personal elite military arrives on the scene to execute Lassini for botching the quiet transfer.
It is total systemic collapse.
Yeah.
The president's greed, the outfit's arrogance, and Parker's relentless vengeance all converge in a single room.
And Parker finds himself standing right next to the prize, a 15th century artifact worth $1 billion. But he looks around and does the math.
The odds are not in his favor.
No, the statue is massive. He has no getaway vehicle because Stan got arrested, and he is entirely surrounded by two separate heavily armed factions. He cannot physically win. So, in a shocking, spiteful move, Parker pulls out a detonator. During the chaos of the gunfight, he had secretly wired explosives all over the Lady of Arindo.
Unbelievable.
And he just presses the button. He blows this priceless historical treasure into 1,000,000 pieces. If he can't have it, nobody can. It's the ultimate middle finger to a corrupt system. I was stunned by the sheer destructive audacity of it.
It feels petty on the surface, but it's actually a stroke of tactical genius.
Really?
Yeah. Parker proves exactly what Lucini feared at the very beginning. One determined individual can absolutely bring down a massive organization if they know where to strike.
Oh, I see.
That statue wasn't just money. It was the political and financial leverage holding the outfit and the president's illicit deal together. By vaporizing the prize, Parker instantly removes their leverage, effectively destroying Lucini and the outfit's power base in a single second. He burns their entire system to the ground.
But Parker is nothing if not pragmatic. When the dust finally settles and Parker escapes with his surviving crew in a bulletproof vehicle, we learn the heist wasn't a total loss.
He thought ahead.
Way ahead. Before he wired the statue with explosives, Parker meticulously extracted the massive, incredibly valuable diamonds set into the statue's eyes.
He honors his own labor, He ensures that while the corrupt institutions burn, his personal ledger is balanced.
And he generously shares that wealth, distributing the diamonds among his surviving friends. Which leads us to the final and, frankly, the most unsettling scene of the entire movie. The war is over. The dust is settled. Parker goes to meet Sin.
The original architect of the safe house betrayal.
Right. And over the course of this insane, chaotic alliance, Sen has genuinely fallen in love with Parker. She has seen past the cold, algorithmic exterior to the highly principled man underneath.
She even saved his life from those street thugs.
Yeah, she expects this meeting to be a reunion, a chance for a fresh start with the diamonds they secured. But Parker is a man of his word.
The promise to Rosie.
He remembers the heavy promise he made to the grieving widow at the very beginning of the film, despite Sen's feelings, despite their successful teamwork, and despite the fact that she actively protected him. Parker raises his gun and executes Sen.
Wow.
The movie literally cuts to black on the sound of that gunshot. I have to ask, how are we supposed to view this protagonist? Is he a hero who dismantled a corrupt government syndicate? Or is he just a monster hiding behind a set of rules?
This raises an important question about how we consume narratives centered on anti-heroes. We are drawn to Parker because his strict adherence to a code makes him highly effective.
Right.
It makes him a predictable, reliable force in a world governed by unpredictable corruption. But that exact same code is what ultimately strips him of his basic humanity.
He's like a machine.
Exactly. He is incapable of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot evolve past a prior commitment, even when the context of the relationship has entirely changed.
It is a genuinely chilling ending to a relentless story. It takes the romanticized idea of the honorable thief and pushes it to its absolute horrifying logical conclusion. Thank you for joining us on this intense deep dive. You gave us the notes on a movie that completely redefines the heist genre, stripping away the glamour to show the ruthless mechanics underneath.
It was a great ride.
And before we go, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. If a person's moral code requires them to commit an act like executing an ally who has fundamentally changed just to fulfill an old promise, is that code actually a virtue? Or is it just a psychological prison they've built for themselves to avoid the messy, complicated reality of being human? Keep questioning the narratives you consume, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.